Hello and welcome to my new spooky podcast. So, just a little overview of what I'm going to do here. I'm going to talk literally about anything and everything spooky: cryptids, ghosts, hauntings, abandoned places, so on and so forth. Going to throw in some true crime in there because, a lot of hauntings are from crime, murders, and whatnot. So, that is going to be the premise. Also, I am going to take you with me on my road trips. My husband and I are starting this year to go on road trips to different places. This year, we're kind of staying in the Midwest, and we are going to go up into Canada and back down. We're going to do like a whole big loop, and we're going to learn some local legends and some myths and maybe some stories. And I'm taking you with me. And maybe I can get my husband to come on here every once in a while because he's going to be part of that. So I think he should probably be part of the podcast, but that's just me. Plus, it's fun. I like to tell him scary stories all the time, and he sits there and listens. So I think it's a good partnership. I would hope so. We're married. Anyway, this first episode, I'm going to talk about some of my more home state stories. They're not very long, so I'll probably do an overview of a few of them, but these are stories that are near and dear to my heart. I grew up with these stories. I grew up basically at my grandmother's in East Liverpool, Ohio, and these stories take place not that far from there. And these legends are well known in this area because there was a town that was there, and it thrived on these canals that are no longer there. The building is still there, though. And it's just some of the local legends that we've got going on. So, without further ado, we are going to start with The Bride at the Bridge. And this takes place on August 17th, 1837. Her name was Esther Hale, and she lived in a small town called Sprucevale. Some people claim she was also a Quaker preacher, but I haven't been able to find any evidence that she was. So August 12th was her wedding day, and she was so excited. She had her dress on. She was humming to herself. It was bright and sunny. She was just very, very happy. But then she got to the church and she waited, and she waited, and she waited. And people started to leave because it was taking so long for the groom to either show up or not show up at all. Some say the groom was a soldier that died in action. Others say that he just got cold feet. We will never know what actually happened. But Esther was so distraught. She went home. The wedding cake was still out, covered in cheesecloth. The decorations were still up. She refused to take any of this down, throw anything away. Her friends would come and check on her, get her to eat a little bit, but even then, it wasn't exactly sustenance. She wasn't eating enough. They tried to get her to change out of her wedding dress, and the stories say she came at them with claw-like fingers. Some people say that she also walked the town in her wedding dress, searching for her love, but others say she just stayed in her house with the curtains drawn. The winter of that year, a neighbor noticed that her door was swinging open and there were snowdrifts going into her house. So he went in and he checked on her. He found her dead, decaying, and still in her gown. They gave her a funeral. They buried her. Some say the groom did go to her funeral, but whether he did or not, again, we'll just never know. It is said that on August 12th, when you cross the Beaver Creek Bridge, you will see her, and she will come at your car. Your car will shut off. She'll run in front of your headlights. But you do not let her touch you, because if she touches you, you die, and she becomes young and beautiful forever. Now, this tale, and I will get into this next tale, this tale does end up getting blended in with the legend of Gretchen's Lock. And again, we'll talk about that. Again, Sprucevale was a canal community, and All that is left right now is the old grist mill or Humbleton's mill. It's just an old building. There are stables near here, and according to Mrs. Daffodil Digresses, which is a blog that I found, she claims that the owner, Nanette Young of Harmony Hill Stables, takes people on trail rides, and she tells this story. And I have seen these people ride around on their horses on these trails. I've always wanted to do it, and I never got to. She claims, Nanette claims that her car shuts off every morning when she drives by the grist mill, and she just coasts down the hill until she can get her car to start again. On August 8th of 2016, she said she took people out for a night ride, and a mysterious fog formed around the horses' ankles as they passed Esther's house. Esther's house is just rubble, just so everyone is aware. And then as I rode onto the bridge, the last man in line said, "I feel a cold force pulling on my sweatshirt." But Nanette couldn't see anything. So when they got back to the barn, they looked at his sweatshirt and they found that it had been torn. Kind of crazy. I loved this area. I always wanted to get out and explore it. My grandmother never would let me, but it's definitely an area with a lot of activity if you want to go ghost hunting. Sprucevale did close after the collapse of the canal and was officially abandoned in 1870. Just a little background. So the other one is just, again, another short one, Gretchen's Lock. Gretchen was a small immigrant girl who died of malaria and had been entombed in the mill's walls. So what had happened was she died. Her father couldn't send her back home, so he put her in the walls of this mill because he was one of the people who was building the mill and put her body in it, and he put her there so that way when he could send her back, he would. And she is known to haunt this mill as well because her body is still there, supposedly. Supposedly, they never unentombed her from these walls. Another story is Pretty Boy Floyd. And if you don't know who Pretty Boy Floyd is, his name was Charles Arthur Floyd. Again, his nickname was Pretty Boy Floyd. He was an American bank robber. He operated in the West and Central states, and his criminal activity gained widespread press coverage in the 1930s. He was seen positively by the public because during robberies, he burned mortgage documents, freeing many people from their debts. Good for Floyd. Can his ghost come and get me out of my debts? Because that'd be awesome. Can someone go do that? I'm just kidding. Don't go rob banks. He was pursued and killed by a group of Bureau of Investigation, BOI, which is later the FBI. Historians have speculated to which officers were at the event, but accounts document that local officers Robert Pete Pyle and George Coran were present at his fatal shooting and also at his embalming. And Floyd has continued to be a familiar figure in American popular culture, sometimes seen as notorious, other times portrayed as a tragic figure, even a victim of the hard times of the Great Depression. Floyd is viewed by many as a prime example of a real-life anti-hero, which, Floyd, you are an anti-hero. You got people out of their debts. You did what others couldn't and what others are not doing. So, he was also named public enemy number 1 following the death of John Dillinger. John Dillinger was number 1 until they got him. And he was shot and killed on October 22nd, 1934 in a cornfield in East Liverpool, Ohio. And accounts differ on who shot him and the manner of which he was killed. But he is known to haunt that area, the mill, and that surrounding area, because that is where he was shot. There's a lot of farmland around that area once you get out of the wooded area, but he is known to haunt the fields and possibly around the mill. All right. So then another one is called Granny's House. The next one is about a supposed old lady. She might have been younger. That's just speculation. But at Granny's house, the old lady may have poisoned a canal worker. Other accounts say that she fell in love with the canal worker, was rejected, and so she poisoned him and his wife. and that goes for both accounts. She's known as Mrs. Mushroom because she knew how to use herbs and different things from nature, and she had these poison mushrooms. She made them soup, invited them over, fed them, and then they died. And it is said that she buried them in her backyard. If she couldn't have him, no one could. So, old lady ghost, she poisoned people for rejection. You know, if she was old, he was probably much younger than her. I can't take things so personal. So I know this was super short, but I will have bigger, better things for future episodes. But I really wanted to tell these stories as short as they are because I grew up with these stories. And I have a lot more that I grew up with, but these were all in one specific area. And if any locals are going to listen to this and also enjoy these stories, that makes me happy too. But I grew up with these stories. I basically grew up in that area. My grandparents lived in East Liverpool, tiny steel mill town that started going downhill after the mills closed. And my grandfather was lucky enough to not work at a steel mill and was a ceramic engineer. So he was safe. He drove to Youngstown every day. But it was just a tiny town, and it thrived at one point. And there's a lot of memories there for me. So I had to hit close to home with this first episode out of memories, nostalgia, and love for that area due to nostalgia. I am going to post once a week. I'm going to aim for either Friday or Saturday. I am also going to look for other stories. We're not going to just focus on Ohio. We're going to go everywhere, even across the seas. I've got Ireland and Scotland. England is full of ghosts. Maybe some Balkan states. Their folklore is very, very interesting. So I do want to dive into those myths and legends specifically, especially Baba Yaga. That entity is one of the most known entities that is over in that area. I will also take suggestions, requests at some point, maybe even start doing like tales that other people have with experiences, or maybe legends that people just don't know about, because I can research all I want, but there's so much out there that I'm probably not even going to find some things. So any legends and stories that listeners have, I would love to do episodes on your stories as well. So thanks for listening. Follow me on TikTok. TikTok is Kat Zimke, Ziemke, and the Instagram is Chasing Legends. Comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Stay spooky.